In 2013, a dead man walked into a Wells Fargo bank. He opened an account. He signed a contract. Then he walked out. That is impossible. He was dead. His heart stopped beating years before that pen touched the paper. But Wells Fargo didn't care. They needed the numbers. This isn't a ghost story, it's worse. It's the story of how a 170-year-old American legend turned into a $2 trillion criminal empire. But to understand the crime, you have to go back to the beginning. The 1850s. America is wild. Trains cut through mountains. Steamboats smoke up the rivers. Gold flows in California. But there's a problem. Mail takes weeks. Money disappears on dirt trails. Bandits hide behind every rock. Then come the heroes. Henry Wells talks with a stutter, but he builds roads. William Fargo rides as a messenger, sharp, ambitious, unsentimental. In 1852, they launch Wells Fargo and Company straight into the California gold rush. And here is where the story gets dark, even in the beginning. San Francisco explodes from 500 people to 36,000 in 5 years. No banks, no law, just gold dust and greed. Wells Fargo moves the gold. But when bandits rob a stage, Wells Fargo doesn't call the sheriff. They ride out themselves. They hire posses. They post cash rewards. Sometimes they just kill the thieves. Then they make sure everyone knows it. Miners hear the stories. They realize Wells Fargo isn't a delivery service. They are the law. That brutal trust built an empire. By 1855, they have 56 branches. They survive fires. They survive bank panics. They survive earthquakes. But survival isn't enough. They want more. And that hunger, that need to grow at any cost, will eventually rot the entire company from the inside. 1905. The West is tamed. Railroads rule everything. And one man wants to rule the railroads. E.H. Harriman. They call him the Napoleon of railroads. He buys broken train lines, fixes them, sells them for millions. Then he looks at Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo does two things: banking and express delivery. Harriman hates waste. He forces a split. Banking stays in San Francisco. Express moves to New York. It feels like surgery, clean, precise. But it leaves Wells Fargo smaller, weaker. Then World War I hits. The government says, no more private express companies. Merge everything into one system. Wells Fargo surrenders its stagecoaches, its roots, its identity. The stagecoach dies. All that remains is a bank, a small bank, a scared bank. The 1920s roar. Stocks go up. Everyone gets rich. Wells Fargo merges again. Survives the Great Depression by being boring, safe. But a new enemy rises in California, Bank of America. They have branches on every corner. They serve immigrants, working people, regular folks. Wells Fargo serves the rich, the old money, the railroad barons. By the 1950s, Wells Fargo realizes they are losing. CEO Hellman III looks at the map. Bank of America is everywhere. Wells Fargo is nowhere. He needs a miracle. He needs size, fast. So he does something reckless. He swallows a bigger bank. American Trust, 102 branches. Overnight, Wells Fargo becomes California's second-largest bank. The 1970s arrive. Inflation, deregulation, pressure. Managers push employees harder, sell more, open more accounts. Nobody asks if it's right. They only ask if it's done. And behind the scenes, one man is about to prove that Wells Fargo isn't watching closely enough. His name is Ben Lewis, and he will steal $21 million from right under their noses. Ben Lewis works the night shift at Wells Fargo's Beverly Hills branch. Nice guy. Trusted. Been there for years. Nobody watches him. It starts small. A friend needs help. A boxing promoter named Harold Smith needs cash flow. Lewis hides a few bad checks. No big deal. Then it grows. Fake receipts, phony accounts, money moving to fake companies. Over 2 years, Lewis steals $21.3 million, the largest bank embezzlement in U.S. history. And Wells Fargo doesn't notice. They only catch him because of a routine audit. a random check. By then, the damage is done. They add a rule, mandatory 2-week vacations. That way, fraud can't hide. But they don't ask why a trusted employee would steal. They don't ask why the pressure to perform pushed him to break. They just add a rule and move on. 2 years later, another disaster. September 12th, 1983. A Wells Fargo armored depot in Connecticut. Victor Garina works as a guard. He drugs 2 co-workers with chloroform, binds them with duct tape. He loads $7.2 million into a car. Drives away. The largest cash robbery in U.S. history. The FBI hunts him. He flees to Cuba. Never caught. CEO Carl Reichert turns the heist into a PR victory. "See," he says, "we hunt thieves, just like the old days." The public buys it. But inside the bank, Reichert is making a dangerous bet. He cuts costs, closes 100 branches, fires thousands. Then he buys Crocker National Bank for $1.1 billion. Bargain price. Wells Fargo doubles in size overnight. Reichert retires a hero. His replacement, Paul Hazen, wants more. He sees First Interstate Bancorp, huge, 13 states. Hazen launches a hostile takeover, wins, pays $11.6 billion. But the merger is a disaster. Computers crash, customers leave, trusted staff get fired. Enter Norwest, a smaller bank, better run, hungrier. They don't merge with Wells Fargo, they swallow it, and they bring a deadly weapon, cross-selling. Norwest takes over, but the name stays, Wells Fargo. The culture changes completely. CEO Dick Kovacevic loves one thing, cross-selling. That means selling more products to the same customer. Checking account, credit card, loan, insurance, 8 products per household. The slogan, 8 is great. Wall Street loves it. Stock goes up, bonuses flow. But there's a problem. Real customers don't want 8 products. So how do you hit the number? You cheat. It starts small. A banker opens a second checking account without asking, just to boost the count. Then it grows. A credit card here, a savings account there. By 2011, it's a machine. Claudia runs a branch in Pomona, California. She watches her employees open fake accounts, transfer money from real accounts to fund the fakes. She calls the ethics hotline, reports the fraud. 3 weeks later, she's fired. The fraud continues. In 2013, the Los Angeles Times breaks the story. Bankers describe a pressure cooker, quotas that are impossible to hit, managers screaming. One employee forges a dead person's signature, another opens accounts for homeless people. Nobody stops them because everyone is doing it. Between 2011 and 2015, Wells Fargo opens 1.5 million fake deposit accounts and over 500,000 fake credit cards. Customers get charged fees for accounts they never knew existed. Their credit scores drop. Wells Fargo fires 5,300 employees. Low-level workers, the ones who got caught. The executives, they keep their bonuses. CEO John Stumpf apologizes publicly, says he's shocked, says he'll fix it. But documents show he knew. His team knew. The board knew. The government fines Wells Fargo $185 million, a record. But that's pocket change for a $2 trillion bank. Janet Yellen, head of the Federal Reserve, drops the hammer. An unprecedented punishment, an asset cap. Wells Fargo cannot grow past $1.95 trillion, cannot get bigger until they prove they've changed. For a bank, not growing is a death sentence. October 2019. Wells Fargo is bleeding. Trust is gone. Regulators are circling. The asset cap is a cage. They need a miracle. They need someone who never worked there. Enter Charlie Scharf. Scharf grew up in New Jersey. Summer jobs in brokerages, data entry, vault work. Then he met Jamie Dimon, the most aggressive banker of his generation. Scharf followed Dimon everywhere. Citigroup, Bank One, learned how to cut costs, how to crack heads. By 2017, he's running BNY Mellon. Fixing broken companies is his specialty. Wells Fargo's board makes the call. Scharf walks into the San Francisco headquarters. He doesn't promise kindness. He promises surgery. He fires 55,000 people, one of the biggest corporate cleanups ever. He kills unprofitable divisions, mortgage servicing, international side projects. He hires thousands of risk managers, builds systems to catch fraud before it starts. The new rule, ethics over sales. Performance reviews stop counting products. They start counting compliance. Boring? Yes. But boring keeps you out of jail. For 5 years, Scharf works. No shortcuts, no hype, just rebuilding. And then it happens. June 3rd, 2025. The Federal Reserve lifts the asset cap. 7 years. 7 long years of being handcuffed. Wells Fargo can finally grow again. Assets cross $2 trillion for the first time. Charlie Scharf looks like a hero. The story of Wells Fargo is the story of America. Born in the gold rush, built on violence, saved by scandals, rescued by outsiders. But success never lasts forever. The same pressure to grow, the same hunger for numbers, the same culture that created millions of fake accounts. It's still there, buried, waiting. Scharf fixed the systems. But did he fix the soul? One bad quarter. One new CEO hungry for bonuses. One recession that squeezes profits. And the whole thing could collapse again. Wells Fargo survived 170 years. But in today's world, a single mistake doesn't take years to destroy you. It takes seconds. And the next scandal is always one bad decision away.